Hey there, Duncan here. So in this quick video, I'm going to run through a search landscape report that I've done for the UK solar market in this case. So what we're going to be looking at today is an overall view of the types of things that people are searching for and how they're organized by different topics, how they connect to other similar spaces. And I'm also going to be taking a look at the competitors in terms of content and also in terms of the types of businesses that they are and the types of services that they offer. And I'm going to be talking about specific keywords in terms of content production that would be potentially good to go after first. And one of the reasons that it's really helpful to look at this landscape is that it's not just about getting traffic from Google. It's also about building a system of customer acquisition where we're talking to the things that people really want to know about. And what better way to find out what people want to know than literally looking at the exact questions they're typing in every single day into Google. So we can use this content for videos, we can use it for email nurture content, we can even use it to educate sales reps to help overcome common objections. So let's dive in and take a look at the context map here. So this is a overview of the types of topics that people are searching for, and there's some examples of particular search terms in there. So with this particular tool that I'm using here, it does have a search volume figure for some of the keywords, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to that because the source that it's getting its data from isn't as accurate as it could be. And that's okay because I'm using another tool called SEMrush, which is we have right here, which is way more accurate. So when we're looking at which keywords specifically to go after, the numbers here are much more accurate. But this way of looking at it is much clearer in terms of getting an overview of the types of topics and the content angles. So as you can see here, we've got solar panels UK as the center of everything. Up here, these are some related topics which link to solar panels, but aren't necessarily about solar panels themselves. So for example, a lot of people who have an electric vehicle are going to be much more likely to be interested in solar panels for obvious reasons. Home automation is also tightly linked with solar panels because there's a subset of people who buy solar panels who are quite nerdy and they like dashboards, they like things that make their home feel more futuristic. And so home automation is highly linked, but it's not a core part of solar panels. Same thing with cost of living. It's one of the key reasons that a lot of people go solar, but again, it's not the key central aspect of solar itself. So here we've got the topics within solar itself below. So let's go through and take a look at some of those. So this isn't a 100% complete list. This is designed to be something that you can add to over time. But over here, let's start from the left and work our way across because these are all main topics. They do link together, obviously, but this is the way that I've chosen to separate things out. If we look at the way that a competitor has done this, so this is a context map of Green Match, which is one of the best performing competitors in terms of organic. So they're a aggregator in the UK. We can see they've broken things up by related content because they don't just do solar. They've got geothermal energy, heat pumps, heating in general, commercial solar. So within solar itself, they've got different brands of solar. They've got solar generators, commercial solar, questions. And so the reason I'm showing you this right now is just to show that this competitor is doing really well, but the way that it's organized is not as good as it could be. And obviously this is because they've grown their site organically over time, and they probably didn't start with this top-down view. They've just kind of added to it as and when. And that works. They're doing really well, but this is not the best way to organize things. And the reason that I've brought these topics as individual items is because this is much more similar to the way that Google's going to be looking at it. So Google's algorithms are looking at the content quality of each individual piece of content, but they're also looking at the interlinking and the way that things are semantically organized within the site. So the actual structure of the site is just as important as the content quality. And that might not 100% make sense right now, but hopefully the more that I go through the way that this is organized, the more that's going to become clear. So first of all, going back to the topic, Mac, we've got objections here. So these are things that people are going to be looking for when they're not quite sure, they're on the fence. These topics are both quite high level in terms of the stage of awareness that this person is at. So they might be looking at this as the first thing that they search for or think about when it comes to solar. But it's also it can be quite bottom of the funnel, because these people could have already got quotes and then they're thinking, oh, actually, someone just told me that solar panels actually aren't that environmentally friendly. Oh, maybe I shouldn't go through this quote. And then they Google, do solar panels contain toxic materials? Do solar panels cause pollution? So these are objections, and it's really good to cover these with content, because based on the surveys and the research I've done, at least in the UK market, people often don't speak to the sales reps about these things. They just make a choice and then they end up not buying, they go cold. So these actually, when we look at the search volume is not super high for a lot of these, but they can be quite impactful in terms of preventing sales that otherwise would go through. So really good to cover, and there is some search volume for these. Right. So going across, we've got solar thermal panels. So again, with this one, this is less central to the key theme of solar PV. So as a business selling solar PV, it's debatable whether you want to cover solar thermal as well. But there is a lot of good content in there about comparing to solar PV. So which one has a better return on investment? Which one works better? Which one is easier to install? All of these kind of questions people have, and they're comparing and they're trying to make a choice between the two. So having this angle here is really good for that reason, but also bringing it back to the way that Google views the site, having a really in-depth coverage of the whole subject. So coming back to the central topic here of solar panels, the more that Google sees, okay, yeah, you know about solar thermal panels, therefore you're going to be better to inform people about buying solar PV panels or not. So that's the way that I'm thinking about this. Then we've got solar panels for car charging. And then within that, there's this example question here: how many solar panels to charge a Tesla Model S? So very specific. And if we look at generative SEO, so that's where you're creating a template with variables that change some of the page content, but not all of it, to make it more relevant to a very specific search query, this would be an ideal one. So if you wanted to do how many solar panels to charge a Nissan Leaf, how many solar panels to charge a Jaguar I-Pace, you could create a whole series like that if you wanted to. And each one of these, the search volume varies depending on the popularity of that particular electric car. A Tesla Model S is, we can check the search volume exactly, but I know for a fact that's going to be higher than a Jaguar I-Pace, for example. And there's tons of questions within this whole topic of how solar panels and electric vehicles interact that you can cover as well. Things like, how it changes the return on investment, because within that, you're thinking about petrol prices versus electric prices versus generating your own electric supply. So there's tons to cover in there. And that all links really nicely to the central theme. Then we've got solar panel battery storage. So one thing that I'm looking at with these keywords is the competitiveness of the keyword. So when I'm looking at these big long lists of keywords, here you can see I've filtered this list by keyword difficulty. So 0 is really easy, and then 100 is basically impossible unless you're like the New York Times. So these have a relatively easy keyword difficulty, and there's still a decent amount of people searching for each one of these keywords every single month. So some of them obviously probably not really relevant, like a Ring solar panel, that's a doorbell, so probably don't care about that. But something like solar panel Grant Scotland, that's good. But the reason that I was bringing this up now is because on the battery side of things, I noticed that there's a lot of battery brands that have decent search volume and very low keyword difficulty. So if I search for pylon tech within this, it's going to show me that we have quite a few keywords specific to this one type of battery brand. So here we go, pylon tech battery, 2,400 monthly searches, keyword difficulty 16%. And there's ones with even lower difficulty and lower search volume too, but still worth it. So there's people here who are probably quite bottom of the funnel because they're basically product aware. We've got unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware. So these people are product aware, which is great to target because they're pretty close to buying. Now, these people who are searching for very specific battery brands, they're probably going to be quite tech forward, or nerdy, for lack of a better word. So these people will be quite motivated to find out more about the types of reporting that you have within the solar offering. So being able to monitor it on an app, for example, is going to be something they care about. So when thinking about internal linking and linking topics together. Anyway, got a little bit into the weeds there, but coming back to this overall context map, remember we're linking this all back to the central topic and building the topical authority here in the eyes of Google. So we've got different battery brands within that specific battery products. And then we've got these interlinked topics here. So I put this within another top level topic of are solar panels worth it UK? But within that, we've got are solar panels with storage worth it in the UK? Because that changes the algorithm basically of the payback time of solar, whether you have a battery or not. So that goes in there. But we've got a whole load of queries, search queries here, which are within this topic of basically working out the solar from a investment perspective. So are solar panels worth it? What's the payback time? Do they increase the value of my house? What's the return on investment? And then linked to that, we've got a whole load of calculator questions. So again, people looking for these calculator tools, they're going to be a little bit more tech aware, product aware. They're going to want a bit more detail, but there's tons of calculator questions. So like roof space calculator, solar panel cost calculator, solar payback calculator. And of course, these all link to these return on investment questions within this wider topic, but they also link to the cost topic. So people who have very cost specific questions, and they have a slightly different mindset typically to people looking at it from a return on investment perspective. So people looking at just the upfront cost and comparing that to other options they have. And then across here, we've got solar panel finance. There's a lot of people who are interested in zero upfront solar and financing options. And there's a lot of people looking for government grants, which obviously right now they're going to be disappointed unless they're in Scotland with this zero interest loan. But basically there's a ton of people looking for this. There's lots of related keywords to this one. And again, the search volume is actually a lot higher than what it says here. So almost there in terms of the main topics, we've got solar panel installer. So this is one of the highest intent keywords, and groups of keywords. This is people who know that they want to get solar, probably. They probably have some objections. They probably have some misconceptions still, but they're looking to move forward. And so this is one of the highest intent parts to go after. And so there's a lot of keywords in here to do with installers, installation companies, who's the best installation company, questions where people are trying to work out the individual track record of different companies. Buy solar panels is one of the most simple keywords out there. And in a second, I'll go through some of the competitors and how they're doing with those. And then we've got the more technical keywords. So at the very top level, we've got how do solar panels work? So it's more of a basic question. But then within that, we do get a bit more technical. And we've got, for example, here, 4 kilowatt solar panels UK. Okay, not super technical, but when we look at the content on those pages, it does get into the amount of production that the panels would be expected to have, the appropriate battery size for that solar system, the roof space that it takes up. So we're getting more into technical specs with these questions. And of course, if you have a page for a 4 kilowatt system, you can have a page for a 5 kilowatt, 8 kilowatt, a 99 kilowatt system. And same thing with individual solar panels. So we've got a 400 watt solar panel, but also 350 watt, 500, 550 watt, different brands of solar panels, comparing different brands. So there's a lot of really detailed, very product specific information that you can create content around here. And there's a lot of search volume for that too. And then we've got questions, more general questions that are not specific to one type of panel, but questions about how solar panels work in general. So here we've got how much energy does solar panels produce per day. We've also got variations of this where people are asking for the specific kilowatt hour production, or how many solar panels do I need to power X or Y? So how many solar panels do I need to power a fridge? So people are trying to work out, using their frame of reference, how solar panels work. So there's a ton of keywords in there. Then we've got solar panel maintenance. So cleaning, we've got questions about pigeon proofing, inverter lifespans, how do solar panels degrade over time? Lots of questions around that. Then here we're going slightly further away from the central topic, but we do have off-grid solar and ground mount solar, and questions of how to do DIY setups, solar panels for camping and caravans. And so if we look at Green Match again, if we look at their topic map, it's in here somewhere. They do have some content on, here we go. Solar panels for camping, solar panels for boats, solar panels for motorhomes. So solar panels for underground bunkers, very, very niche. But if we look at these, the call to action at the top is still to get a quote. And I'm pretty sure they don't have partners that they're selling these leads to who actually provide solar panels for boats. But the reason that they've still produced this content is going back to the topical authority question. So Google doesn't care whether they're actually supplying solar panels for boats or not. What it cares about is that the site and the group of people behind it understand that the different uses of solar panels, the pros and cons, and how they all interlink together. That's how Google's looking at it. So if you choose to create that content or not, but that is the way that Google looks at it. How completely do you understand and can you communicate about this topic in a high quality way with high quality content? So this is obviously not a completely comprehensive view, but this is a good overview of the types of topics. So if we dive into the top competitors very quickly. So there are 3 main categories. So we've got aggregators. So these are people like I just showed you with Green Match. So these are like lead brokers, I guess, that they're creating content to attract people who want to get quotes, and then they sell the information of those people to, typically it's 3 to 5 suppliers. So we've got Money Saving Expert, Green Match, the Eco Experts, Compare My Solar, Solar Guide, Honest Quotes. There's many other ones too, but these are the top ones in terms of organic. So there's other ones who primarily use things like native advertising, or in general paid traffic to generate leads. But these are the top ones in terms of organic traffic. There's other ones that do well in organic as well, but these are the ones I've pulled out. Then we've got sales organizations / individual installers. So here we've got actual companies who actually come and put the solar panels on your roof, or maybe they subcontract. But these are the main ones in the UK. So we've got First for Solar, Project Solar UK, Joju Solar, Naked Solar, Infinity Energy. So here's one of them. This is what it looks like. So it's an installer, clearly. And they're one of the ones that are actually creating content. The individual installers tend to not be as good as these aggregators, because aggregators, their primary business is to create content and then manage the lead flow, whereas these people actually have to get up on a roof and do stuff. Then we've got energy companies as well. So we've got Eon Energy, EDF Energy, Octopus, OVO Energy. So these ones are, I mean, you could put them in the sales org category, but the reason that I've separated them out is because they tend to be much larger businesses. And one of the things that comes along with that is they typically have had a web presence for longer, that's larger, that's more likely to have a higher domain reputation. And that's basically what Google considers to be important authoritative websites have linked to them over time. So energy companies, they're going to get links from newspapers, whether positive or negative. But, to a certain extent, all publicity is good publicity with this. So, these companies over here and the aggregators are much more likely to have good links coming to them, whereas the smaller installers, less likely. But with those, then Google is able to determine that they're actually offering the service, and because they have a phone number, because they have a local listing, local Google business profile, so they are able to compete on some level. But these are the main categories. So let's very quickly go and take a quick look. So we've got Green Match. So if we look at their monthly traffic cost, so this is an interesting number. This is like, how much would you have to spend on Google Ads every month to get the same amount of traffic from these keywords that they're currently getting organically? And as you can see, it's almost $500,000 per month. So that doesn't mean that it would make sense to actually bid on all these keywords, because just the nature of the difference between organic and paid, you probably wouldn't bid on these keywords. But it gives you a very good idea of the value of what they've built up here. So this is just the last 2 years. They've been around longer than that. But you can see, for example, here they are number 3 in the UK for the search term solar panels, which it has a volume of about 90,000 monthly searches. Solar panel grants are number 1 with 6,500 searches every month. So they don't just do solar. So again, going back to this map of all their content that they have, they obviously have solar as one aspect of it, but they also have like double glazing, heat pumps, heating, green energy as a whole, conservatories. So it's related topics that are really all saving the same. They're solving the same problem for homeowners, which is having a warm, comfortable home that costs less money than alternatives. But the amount of traffic they're getting is not just from solar. Then we've got First for Solar. So this is the individual installer. So again, look at the traffic cost, $33,000 per month. So again, it's obviously less than 10% of Green Match, but being an individual installer, then they are going to be, one, maximizing the revenue from the same keywords. So instead of selling a lead to installers for like £30, like Green Match does, then they're obviously making money off the whole install. So it's a little bit different. And so this number here is just, again, it's like the equivalent of what they would have to pay if they were going to buy this traffic. It's not how much money they're making from it. But they do have a lot of branded search traffic, so they're getting a lot of traffic for solar. So it does show you the value of building up that brand. And they are doing advertising on other platforms. So there's obviously people who are seeing them on Facebook and then going and Googling them. So that contributes to that. That said, they are still getting a decent amount of traffic for solar panels, even though they're at the top of the second page on average. So then we've got Eon Energy. So this is just for one page that they have here, but the traffic value here is about $13,000. So it's really, they're doing really well, and that's because they've targeted things like solar panel price, solar panel cost, which is obviously it is not the highest possible intent in terms of buying, because and I found this by targeting this keyword on paid search, it's not the best, but it does convert. So this is again, it's just a different way to look at what keywords to go after. But again, these are some pretty solid competitors. That doesn't mean that there's not tons of opportunity. So if we look at go back to these keywords, for example. So here we've got total volume, 13,000 monthly searches in the UK just from this one battery brand, and virtually all of it has very easy keyword difficulty. So you could just, if you're able to offer this particular battery, you go and through here and create content for pretty much all of these keywords, and it would be pretty easy to get, even with a relatively new site, get to this amount of monthly traffic. And if we go back to the traffic stats here so Eon Energy's solar panel cost page is getting 5,000 visitors here, and First for Solar is getting just under 7,000. So just with this one group of keywords here, you could get 13,000 visitors. And fair enough, this might not be what you want to sell, pylon tech batteries, but it is still part of that contextual map. So there's other battery brands as well. Something like if we look for Tesla Powerwall, it's going to be much higher competition, higher search volume as well. But there are other keywords in there as well. So actually, it's not that much more competitive. So, we're kind of into what SEMrush here considers easy rather than very easy, but still doable. So, you could build out a lot of content here around Tesla Powerwalls. So what I've done is pulled out all of the top easy keywords. So we've got a list here of like over 2,000 easy and very easy keywords here, which doesn't even include all those battery brands, because they're under the individual battery brands rather than the keyword solar panels. But there's obviously a lot in there to get started with, and there's also a list here which is the top 10,000 keywords as well. So let's see if I can click on that. There we go. So yeah, this is like the top 10,000 organic keywords related to solar panels. So obviously not all of them are going to be relevant, and we do need to go and map them to this topic map. But in terms of actually creating content, what I would do is select a few of these top level topics, create pages for these, and then within that start to create the much more targeted keywords, because it's unlikely to rank for one of these top level keywords. Okay, maybe solar panel calculator. You could maybe do that fairly early on, but A lot of these keywords, you're not going to rank for this right away, but you're creating the structure. And then within that, you could go and create individual pages that have lower search volume, but you're much more likely to rank for early on. And then these link back to the higher level page, which then links back to solar panels or buy solar panels or whatever the main keyword is that you want to go after here. So that is an overview of the whole landscape. And hopefully there's some ideas for the way that you can actually take this forward and put it into action. So I know that was a bit of a long video, but hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions or you want any help moving this forward. Thanks.